give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won.
Reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question.
Are we there yet? Have we seen enough to watch the Insurrection Act finally be made public for all to see? Many believe so. The more the corruption makes its way to the public, the better it is for the end to finally come for those who have put us into slavery for so long. Lots to cover on this. Caroline Levitt, boy, she stole the show yesterday. We're going to hit on those things if you missed them. It's pretty amazing. I can't wait to get to it. We have 500,000 plus followers. Thank you so much, folks, for our support that we're getting across the board. We hit the like button and we get up there in the top 3 on the leaderboard on Rumble. Thanks to you. It's absolutely amazing that we could be up there with Dan Bongino. Pretty cool. And so also just want to make sure you guys know we're reminding those that might have tuned in every 4 or 5 videos. The Freedom Cruise is still available. They've opened up some more slots for us, and that's March 15th through 22nd, 2026. Just a few months away. We're going to head out from Fort Lauderdale to Puerto Rico. I wanted to show you a clip from that. This is just what you'll experience. Hundreds of people sitting around, and we know fans all together all week long.
Who's the woman with 27 grandkids?
Some of y'all look like you're at the dentist. I tell you, we're going to have a great week. Let's turn it around the boring way. Everybody, let's sing so loud they hear us on the other end of the ship. You ready? Here we go. Well, I'm my way. Worked for all my life. And I had to start again. Just my children and my wife.
Absolutely amazing. The music, the comedy. We're going to have a lot of folks that have their podcast and influencers on X will be there. It's going to be great. Also want to remind you, we have a $2 decal purchase. Get a free pack of promotional cards so you can share AUK. Use code AMWeKnow26. All decals are only only $2. Whoa, I threw in the zero on that one. They're only $2. So go to amweknow.com, folks. You'll be pleasantly surprised.
But, well, I guess I'll just go back full circle and say that in Minnesota right now, the insurrectionists have come out of hiding. They're confronting our officers on the street. They're being arrested. This is a national security priority. More arrests of insurrectionists are being made every day. And each of those arrests then provides an opportunity to learn more about the network from a law enforcement and national security standpoint.
Stephen Miller announcing federal agents are actively hunting down the leftist insurrection network. Scott Jennings has a lot to say on CNN about this.
Jennings, do you carry your papers?
I carry an ID. If I'm driving.
Right, but an
a car,
ID doesn't prove your U.S. citizenship. A driver's license doesn't. Do you carry your passport, your social security card?
I do carry my passport, actually, everywhere I go. Keep it in my backpack. I travel a lot. I use it sometimes. Look, I didn't hear the resolution to that, by the way, and I didn't hear a direct answer to the question either. I'd love to know how that interaction turned out.
Are you comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with the federal government enforcing U.S. immigration laws.
Amen.
And these kinds of distractions take away from the story of the day. You had an ICE agent last night chasing down a Venezuelan national.
Yep.
That Venezuelan national attacked him and fought him. 2 other Venezuelan nationals ran out of a house and attacked him with brooms, handles, and shovels, which are deadly weapons. He had to discharge his weapon. 3 illegal aliens trying to kill an ICE agent in the street, and we're worried about interactions like this. This is outrageous. The state of Minnesota is in a state of insurrection right now. The governor is egging it on. The mayor is egging it on. If they want it to stop, cooperate with the federal government like states and cities are doing all over this country.
So there's the Communist News Network doing all they can to now say, show me your papers. See, they're trying to make everything sound like a Gestapo from Germany. Who else was in on it? Oh, Joe Rogan even said that. Oh, it looks like a Gestapo. Well, yeah, the guy with millions of followers. We talk about it all the time. Don't fully trust everything that he does on his show, and there's some things that are very questionable, including his logo. But reaching millions of people and then telling them, oh, it could be Gestapo out there. Look for your papers. Now we see how they're playing this game, no matter how much the people of America, the ICE agents who represent our country, are attacked. So there's a major clash.
They're walking around with signs of profanities on them. Well, the ICE officers apparently are walking towards the protesters now. We've seen this a couple times, John, just looking to see what happened. We're told that the Border Patrol... Okay. This is a serious clash happening right now. So John, we're told that the Border Patrol chief, Dan Bavino, is with them at this time. Let's see if we can pick up the audio. Let's listen.
So you can see what they're going through. Fog of war, all types of players out there.
Looks like tear gas is
posting this on Fox News out of all places.
Looks like the federal agents have had enough of this and they're trying to disperse the crowd. You heard the clack, clack, clack of the air guns firing pepper balls.
So many of you have probably been following this, I'm sure. One left-wing agitators taken into custody. Finally. Seen it happen one at a time. DHS agents unloaded a deluge of tear gas into the anti-ICE rioters outside Minneapolis. A lot of folks are paying attention to this. They're watching the chaos, and it's going to play out day after day, leading closer and closer to an insurrection act being called by President Trump. Here's Caroline Levitt.
That's only a question, frankly, Reagan, the president can answer. But the Insurrection Act is a tool at the president's disposal. As you know, it has been used sparingly, but it has been used by previous presidents in American history. And I think the president's Truth Social post spoke very loud and clear to Democrats across this country, elected officials who are using their platforms to encourage violence against federal law enforcement officers, who are encouraging left-wing agitators to unlawfully obstruct legitimate law enforcement operations. And if you talk to any law enforcement officer, no matter what level they work at, they want to be working with their counterparts, whether that's at the federal level or the federal authorities wanting to work with their counterparts at the state and local level. And it's truly shameful that now for more than a year, you've had elected Democrat governors and mayors who have basically held their state and local law enforcement hostage and told them, you cannot cooperate with federal law enforcement. Why? They cooperated under the Biden administration. It's because these Democrats are deranged in their hatred for President Trump, and they are holding their state and local law enforcement hostage as a result. And these Democrat mayors and governors are doing this over what? Over the lawful and legitimate law enforcement operations to remove violent criminals from the streets of Minnesota, from the streets of California, from the streets of New York, and from the streets of every state across this country. And you don't see see these riots and this vandalism taking place in states like Florida. Why? Because you have a governor in that state who has empowered federal and local authorities to work together. And it's despicable what we're seeing from these Democrat politicians, especially in sanctuary states and cities across the country.
Because they're going to be exposed. What are they talking about with President Trump and his announcement? Oh, yeah, if the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators, he said professional, agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE, who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. Thank you for your attention to this matter. He posted that at 8:04 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Simply go to the QAGG.news Q board, type in 804, the number, and it takes you to this. Delta 6 Conference, comms good. Operational. Things are underway. Operational. Military is out there working. They're going to be catching them. They're also grabbing the fake news reporters and exposing them also. Here's Caroline.
Earlier, you were just defending ICE agents generally. And earlier on, Secretary Noem spoke to the media, and she said, among other things, that they are doing everything correctly. 32 people died in ICE custody last year. 170 U.S. citizens were detained by ICE. And Renee Good was shot in the head and killed by an ICE agent. How does that equate to them doing everything correctly?
Why was Renee Good unfortunately and tragically killed?
Are you asking me my opinion? Because an ICE agent acted recklessly and killed her unjustifiably.
Oh, okay. So you're a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist. And it's so clear by the premise of your question. And you and the people in the media who have such biases but fake like you're a journalist, you shouldn't even be sitting in that seat.
Get them.
But you're pretending like you're a journalist, but you're a left-wing activist. And the question that you just raised and your answer proves your bias. You should be reporting on the facts. You should be reporting on the cases. Do you have the numbers of how many American citizens were killed at the hands of illegal aliens who ICE is trying to remove from this country? I bet you don't. I bet you didn't even read up on those stories. I bet you never even read about Laken Riley or Jocelyn Nungray or all of the innocent Americans who were killed at the hands of illegal aliens in this country. And the brave men and women of ICE are doing everything in their power to remove those heinous individuals and make our communities safer. And shame on people like you in the media who have a crooked view and have a biased view and pretend like you're a real honest journalist.
Oh, yes. To this sick freak sitting in a room posing as a journalist. Maybe he's part of the CIA. Maybe they've got that info and she just knows it, and that's why it's so even more so direct, even though he asks stupid questions. Oh, look at ICE agents. They shot this lady recklessly. Oh, look how many Americans they accidentally took in 170. How about bringing up the numbers, like she said, of people who have been raped, killed, lives destroyed, families across our nation from illegals that were allowed in on open borders. Instead, it's go after this president, his administration, and do all you can to try to make people believe that you're a real reporter and that you're asking these wonderful questions with great numbers to expose him, when essentially you're exposing yourself. I had to deal with those idiots. So the Democrat sheriff of Bucks County, Pennsylvania, won by Donald Trump in 2024, just terminated their 287G agreement with ICE, meaning local law enforcement won't be working to help criminal illegals get arrested. Ultramagazine Erickson, Insurrection Act is coming. Can you feel it? Every move that they're making against the federal government to clean up our country, it's going to lead closer and closer to finally sending in the military, working together with ICE, and finally removing these criminals, including these freaks who believe that their leaders in cities are simply destroying the cities and they're making deals. And we're going to show you some of those deals that they make here coming up in a moment. Some more from Caroline. Hang in there.
White ones, we've got clear ones, Tons of microplastics wash ashore all over the world every day. And now for the first time, scientists in the Netherlands have detected microplastic pollution in human blood.
All the microplastics and other plastics we are exposed to, we inhale and we ingest, that actually, there's so much plastic that it can even enter our bloodstream.
The Dutch study on blood samples from healthy adults detected tiny plastic particles in 80% of people.
If microplastic plaque is discovered in your arteries and veins, you are 4.5 times more likely to die from heart attack or stroke. Humans now ingest 6 times more microplastics than in 1990, so trust me, you've got microplastics in your arteries. Microplastics devastate our ability to retain muscle mass and even impact our bone density, making us weak and brittle. Microplastics are altering our DNA by causing DNA damage. This is concerning because it is a known risk factor for disease like cancer. They disrupt our hormones. A recent study shows sperm count and testosterone levels are lower than ever. Avoiding and limiting the use of plastic is not enough. We must take active steps to remove these toxins from the body before they do irreversible damage. BPA is degraded by Bacillus pumilus, a unique strain of bacteria found in kimchi. Another recent study shows that consuming kimchi lowers blood pressure, triglycerides, blood glucose. Kimchi has also been shown to enhance the quality of skin and hair, reduce risk of obesity, improve gut health and digestion. Right now, and we know viewers can get 25% off Kimchi 1 with code AUK at mybrightcore.com/AUK or call 888-317-9941 for up to 50% off, free shipping, and a free bottle of vitamin D3 plus K2 only when you call. Again, that's 888-317-9941.
It seems like what President Trump posted today about invoking the Insurrection Act seems to be the way this is going, and that's the way it will end. And just to invoke the Insurrection Act, he just has to make a determination that is impractical to enforce federal law because of the obstructionist activities. And I think that's apparent just by the reporting you just had. And you have people like Tim Walz, the irony of him saying they don't want chaos when he is seemingly doing everything he can to sow chaos, to cause division, to encourage people to subvert ICE in their mission. It's really shameful, but I think we're going down the road of the Insurrection Act because Governor Walz is not going to step up to his responsibility and get his streets safe so ICE can do their job. And remember, ICE is enacting the laws passed by Congress.
ICE is enacting the laws. The FBI is getting involved also. Kash Patel has a word to say about all this.
I can tell you, generally speaking, that these protests, whether it's Minneapolis or LA or Portland or where have you, aren't spontaneous. They don't magically appear. Most of these individuals aren't even from those respective areas. But more importantly, behind that, someone has to pay for it. Somebody has to pay for the transportation. Somebody has to pay for the signs. And when you find things like every single person is holding the exact same sign on the exact same piece of wood and the exact same placard, they didn't get together beforehand and do that. It is an organized, in my opinion, effort to criminally disrupt and cause chaos into our communities. And this FBI is investigating every single organization and person responsible for paying or contributing in any way to the organization of these protests, and also going after those actors, the criminal actors at the protests themselves.
Well, the FBI went after all the J6 folks that did nothing wrong. As a matter of fact, they went in at 2, 3 in the morning while kids were asleep. They'd break down the doors, take the parents, ruin people's families and lives for forever for doing nothing wrong. So this investigation's underway, but we want to see the arrests. We want to see the movement, and I believe we will. They're priming all of this, and they're showing you more and more how this is playing out. So this guy tries to go after, this ICE agent tries to go after someone. While he's going after him, if you're looking at your screen, they poured bottles of water on the sidewalk to turn it into ice so that they have no footing. So he's slipping all over the place, and it allows them to come up and the first person walks up and assaults, knocks him down. Now, that person could have had a weapon on him or her, and it hurt this. Oh, it's a police officer. It's police. Okay. Sorry, the police is working with him. Second assault. As he gets up to chase this person down, somebody tries to trip him. That's the second assault. He tries to grab that person, and you have the third person that jumps on his back and tries to remove him. All this playing out, one after another.
Constant harassment all evening. Can you speak to the rhetoric we're hearing from Democrat politicians, whether they are causing violence against ICE, as well as some of the headlines we've seen, not including the full story?
Yeah, I mean, to your first point, I think I've addressed that these Democrat governors and mayors in not just Minnesota, but in states across the country are essentially, they've referred to ICE agents who, again, are brave men and women. And I would encourage everyone in this room, and I would encourage Governor Walz and other Democrats who are demeaning law enforcement to sit down and have a cup of coffee with an ICE agent or a Border Patrol agent. These are great, patriotic men and women who have families, who put on the uniform every day and are following our nation's immigration laws at the direction of their bosses and again, at the direction of the law. They are simply trying to enforce the law. And the Democrat Party has demeaned these individuals. They've even referred to them as Nazis and as the Gestapo. And that is absolutely leading to the violence we're seeing in the streets. If you look at some of the images out of Minneapolis last night, look at this vehicle. Look at what it says. It says F ICE. You have these individuals who are putting their middle finger, proudly so, at the camera. Another ICE individual, a vehicle that was vandalized last night by these left-wing agitators. People don't do this without encouragement from people in power who make them feel like it's okay.
That's right.
Here's another one. And I'm pretty sure this car, you can't see it, said the best agent is a dead agent or something to that effect. This is despicable rhetoric that we're seeing, and the media is absolutely complicit in this violence because
right.
If you look at the headline from CNN, protests erupt after federal agent shoots man in Minneapolis. That is not the story. That is not the truth. If you actually want to know the truth, you can look at what the Department of Homeland Security released,
right.
Which is that this ICE agent was executing a targeted operation against a Venezuelan illegal alien who was unlawfully present in the country, who fled by car and then fled by foot. And when this ICE agent tried to detain the individual, 3 more of his comrades came rushing out of a house and started ambushing and attacking the ICE agent. They used a shovel or a broom to smash his face in. And so, yes, that agent had to use self-defense and take up his weapon to protect his own life. That is what's happening on the streets of Minneapolis. That's what's happening on the streets, unfortunately, of these Democrat-run cities and states where you have elected officials who are encouraging such violence against our brave men and women in law enforcement.
So glad she's calling out the media. So glad she brings up these headlines to show them to their face. You're a bunch of liars. They don't care. They're getting paid good money. A lot of them trained by the CIA. And hopefully they're getting taken out one by one. Hopefully they're part of a show to help wake up everyone to just how fake the news really is. One of those photos she showed was this one here. You can see this guy goes into a vehicle, if you're looking at your screen, an ICE vehicle. And the leftist insurrectionists stole an FBI rifle and ammo in Minneapolis after the vehicle was smashed up. It was captured by Nick Sortor. Yeah. They go in, they take things out of the vehicle, and then you wonder why we're calling for the Insurrection Act to play out. Now, what happened to this guy?
Just before I got in front of the camera, my security team advised me that the person that stole that firearm last night is now wearing a set of handcuffs in custody.
The guy that stole the firearm, which is the weapon from the ICE vehicle, has now been detained.
So I was just advised of that before I got on the camera. So, and there's others. Others are coming. So they're going to be held accountable. But you're right. Look, Mayor Fry and the governor could end this right now. They could say, ICE, we want to work with you. ICE, we want to let you into our jails, and we're going to, respect your detainers. Any illegal alien that we book into a jail, when we're done with them, we're going to call you. So you can arrest them in the safety and security of a jail rather than us releasing them to the street. Then you got to send a whole team to look for them. They could fix the situation right now, because as of right now, what are these anarchists, what have they achieved so far? What have they achieved? Has ICE decreased their operations? No, we doubled down. We're arresting people every day and we'll keep doing it. They haven't achieved anything other than violence.
We're doubling down. Elon Musk. Time to invoke the Insurrection Act, he said. Insurrection Barbie says the Insurrection Act has been invoked 30 times by 17 different presidents. In fact, 37% of American presidents have invoked the Insurrection Act. It was invoked to deal with rebellious and uprisings. Rebellions and uprisings. What are the rebellions and uprisings? Examples. Armed groups openly defied federal law. State or local authorities could not or would not enforce federal law. Violence or organized resistance threatened the authority of the federal government. Courts were blocked, taxes couldn't be collected, or officials were attacked. That's describing Minnesota. Let's get some more from Caroline Levitt on leakers in the media.
Unlawfully leak classified and very serious information to this Washington Post reporter. Hence why the reporter's home was looked into by the FBI, rightfully so. And the administration is not going to tolerate leaks, especially from within the national security apparatus of the United States government, that put our nation's integrity and our national security at risk. Full stop. The president will not support that. I know the Secretary of War will not support that, and it will not stand. And legal action will be taken against anyone, whether it's a member of the press or whether it's an employee for a federal agency who breaks the law. If you break the law and if you endanger our men and women in uniform, you are going to be held accountable, period, full stop.
But does
Jackie.
Does this administration believe that this reporter or any reporter has a right to publish classified information under certain circumstances?
Look, I think that we do not believe that individuals who have been given the privilege of holding a top secret clearance should be illegally leaking that classified information.
What a stupid question from that reporter. Are there some circumstances where we can take this top secret information and we can release it to the public? Come on. Come on. These guys should be able to go on their computer, and even though they've gone through all the briefings and they've been given this clearance, they've had their background checks and everything, they should be able to give us something. Come on. What a stupid question. She shouldn't have even answered him. President Trump was indicted for telling his supporters to march peacefully at the Capitol. Remember that? What does Tim Waltz do?
Take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
Tim Waltz giving orders to his supporters to go after ICE agents, gather evidence against them. And they did it a few hours later. President Trump says, peacefully protest. Folks go in, and what do the police do? They open up the barriers. They take this gigantic magnetic door that can't be opened from the outside, and they buzz it to open it up from the inside, and they say, come on in, everyone, and they all walk in, and what do? They take the video clips and the pictures of faces, and then they head out at 2 o'clock in the morning and start arresting people in their homes for doing nothing wrong. They go after President Trump, indict him for saying peacefully protest. This guy goes and says, go after him. I encourage you to gather evidence. And what do? They break in windows and they start gathering evidence. And that's why people are getting upset. Where's the accountability on this side? Fights erupted as Minnesota students staged a walkout protesting ICE arrests of criminal aliens. You're watching that on your screen. Minnesota students. And what do most of these students look like? Well, most of them look like they came from Somalia. So Walter Kurt said, okay, Data Republican, and I did some general numbers on the Somali fraud cash going through Minneapolis airport. According to reports, over 2 years, they moved roughly $700 million through the airport. That means if they used $100 bills, they moved 7.7 metric tons of cash. And keep in mind, this is just what was flagged over the past 2 years. Couple notes on that number. That would essentially mean that the Somalis were taking $1 million duffel bag to the airport every single day for 2 years. Further, we can assume that this is only the money that was flagged. If the Somalis were just wandering through, without declaring every cash bag, we could be talking 10 times the amount. The question then became, why Minneapolis? Well, after some quick discussing with regular travelers of the Minnesota airports, the Somalis run the airport. They're the ground crews. They're the airport staff. They're the TSA. We have an airport in the United States of America run by pirates. That's kind of a problem. More on where we think the money is going later. And then if you go to the Mall of America, if you're looking at your screen, you'll notice that these, it doesn't look like the Mall of America. It looks like the Mall of Somalia. Buzz Patterson said, when I was a Delta pilot, I used to lay over in Minneapolis a lot. I visited Mall of America a few years ago, and I'd heard about it and had lots of time to take care of other things. I felt like I was back in Mogadishu in 1993. It's a third world hellhole. Couldn't wait to leave. It's not the United States. It's Somalia. Literally the Mall of America. 85% of the people are on welfare, by the way. Remember, 85% on welfare. And what do? They head to the mall. Spend your hard-earned money. Kind of need a little slight break from this before I get to more. Love to hear from Mike at Hunter's Blank Coffee.
Well, many of you, like us, care deeply and passionately about our country. In fact, if you've stuck around with us after all these years, you probably are a kindred spirit. And many of us have been voting for years and doing what we can politically, but end up mostly just complaining to our neighbors because it doesn't seem like anything changes. And then we've become aware, there's a system below that's kind of running things. That's where the problem is. The deep state, the three-letter agencies, that's where the problem is. But now in the last number of years, we've become aware, wait, there's something much deeper than that. I think the political system is like not even the tip of the iceberg. It's just the layer of snow on the tip of the iceberg. What's below that maybe is the deep state, the three-letter agencies doing the thing. But what's this mass underneath the waterline that we can't see? It's invisible. I believe that is a spiritual realm. There's a spiritual battle going on, good and evil, light and dark. How else do you explain that an adult can't tell you even what a woman is, or that an adult would say it's a good idea to mutilate the God-given design of a child because they feel differently, permanently ruining their lives? How else can an adult say, with a burning city behind them, say, this is peaceful? Or opening a border to 20, 25 million unvetted people, illegally bringing them in? It's going to have disastrous consequences, knowing good and well that's what will happen. We're in a spiritual battle. Now, where we can be frustrated, feeling like we can do very little politically and literally nothing with the deep state, you have a critical, massively important role you can play where the real problem lies, the spiritual battle below the waterline, because you have a direct connection to the creator of the universe, the all-powerful creator of the universe, who taught us to pray. Jesus did. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done. That statement there is not a beg. It's not a request. It's literally, in the original language, more of a command. So you can link arms with the creator of the universe and pray into what's actually going on, where the real battle is. So join us here at Hunter's Bland and millions of people around the world, millions of people around America that are praying That's where the real battle is, and that's where the victory is going to be won. Welcome to the Great Awakening.
Outstanding. Just love it there from Mike, Hunter's Blend Coffee, folks. You can go in the description box below and check them out. Amazing website. You can look at all of their brands. I happen to drink their decaf, and I absolutely love it. Locally roasted specialty coffee for freedom-loving Americans. They buy the top 6% of specialty coffee beans, roast with precision in small batches, ship their locally roasted coffee fresh to your door. They support organizations and causes that are near and dear to the hearts of many freedom-loving Americans, such as pro-life, youth shooting sports, veterans, hunting and conservation, patriot, and anti-sex trafficking. Check it out, folks. The link is in the description box below.
In America, we don't have a tax problem. We've got a third world problem. This is not an exaggeration. The United States collects over $2.4 trillion in income taxes every year and then burns $1.5 trillion through fraud, waste, and third world robbery. If the elites actually did their jobs and cut out the waste, the government would only need about $900 billion to function. And here's the crazy part. That would mean anyone earning under $500,000 a year could pay zero income tax and everything would still be fully funded. So if this money isn't funding our future, whose dream is it really building? Look at Minnesota. The Somali daycare scandal gave us the answer. Billions of dollars you worked for, money meant to feed hungry kids, was diverted through fake daycare centers, phantom meals, and paperwork designed to approve. Not question, no kids, no food, just checks. Your hard-earned labor was turned into Lamborghinis, beachfront mansions, and luxury vacations most of us will never experience, even after a lifetime of honest work. On top of that, your tax dollars were routed to foreign organizations the U.S. military is fighting. Let that sink in. We went from defending liberty to bankrolling the threat. That's not compassion. That's collapse. And when systems fail like this, they don't admit mistakes. They don't apologize for wasting your money. They dig deeper into your pockets to fund their failure.
Let's find them. Let's find the criminals. Scott Bessent announced the IRS, who I really don't care about at all. They're launching massive audits of financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds. That's the way they should be used. Not coming after us, individuals. Not taxing us and then telling us, oh, you didn't pay your taxes, we're coming after you. And you guys know, I've told you this before, there's plenty of people that were working the IRS that said, it's voluntary. There's politicians that even said, oh, if we ever let them know, the people find out that it's voluntary, they're not going to pay their taxes and we'll be in trouble. Had enough. Here we go.
Civil enforcement is auditing financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds, in addition to helping support criminal and civil enforcement efforts. The IRS will also soon announce the formation of a task force.
That's the way it's done. Can you imagine if we start celebrating and say, wow, IRS is amazing. What are they doing? Man, they're catching all these criminals that are stealing our taxpayer money. Well, what if someday we don't have to pay taxes? Well, what about the money they take in from when we get taxed for sales tax? What about wait a minute. Let's throw this in there. I'm just thinking out loud. Oh, the tariff money that comes in, they start dishing that out from the government for certain programs like daycares and more. And, well, they find out, my goodness, there's certain groups that are taking advantage of the government on that area. Well, we're going to go find out if they're stealing our tariff money in the future. And we're going to say, wow, IRS is actually doing something good for a change. Speaking of doing something good around. The top 5 largest Somali communities in America: Minneapolis, St. Paul, 86,000. Columbus, Ohio, 50,000. Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, 30,000. San Diego, California, 20,000. Portland, Maine, 15,000. Bet they're all connected to the fraud. Investigate them. Billions stolen from us. On Trump's Truth Social post yesterday morning, he was missing an R, the letter R, in the word your. If you put the R into the Q boards, you get Q Post 128, dated November 9th, 2017, which contains operations are underway. It has the R in the target brackets. I'm showing it to you on the screen there. That ties directly to the original decode on Trump's IA post for operational in Q Post 804. Remember operational? Now we've got operations underway, and you've got that R, if you're looking at your screen, that are in the target bracket. See, the misspellings are for a reason. It seems as if Trump is telling us operators are active, buckle up. Now, there's a list of presidents who invoked the Insurrection Act per Grok. Thomas Jefferson, 1808, enforces the Embargo Act violations. Andrew Jackson, 1831, slave rebellion, border dispute. Abraham Lincoln, 1861, suppressed Civil War secession. Ulysses S. Grant says combat the KKK insurgency. Rutherford B. Hayes, quell Great Railroad Strike. Grover Cleveland, anti-Chinese riots. Woodrow Wilson, Colorado Coalfield War. Franklin D. Roosevelt, Detroit race riot. Truman, no confirmed invocation. Eisenhower, Little Rock integration. Kennedy, Mississippi and Alabama school integrations. Johnson, civil rights enforcement and riots. And Bush, 1989, post-Hurricane Hugo looting. 1992 LA riots. Remember those? Well, I'm going to show you some more videos that were posted recently. This would be Frey. Remember old Frey, the guy that loves Minnesota and he can't stand the food he eats, but he pretends he likes the Somali food and more. This guy's a riot. Well, listen to what he says and watch the police. Watch his face.
What I can tell you for certain is that this is not sustainable. This is an impossible situation that our city is presently being put in. And at the same time, we are trying to find a way forward to keep people safe, to protect our neighbors, to maintain order. And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors.
We have police officers to fight against the ICE agents, and you can see this chief of police. He's going to look on his face. It's like, excuse me?
We cannot be at a place right now in America where we have two governmental entities that are literally fighting one another.
Oh, nothing to fear. The whistleblowers are here.
So the big news that we got in the last 24 hours is that Tom Emmer, the number 3 member of the House, Republican leadership, he has confirmed on the record that congressional investigators are now have Minnesota state employees. We've known that there were these whistleblowers, these state legislators were talking to them. They've now become federal and congressional whistleblowers, and they're signing affidavits. And what Tom Emmer says is in the affidavits is people saying, I personally talked to the governor and his staff, Governor Tim Walz and his staff, and I told them about this fraud, told them it needed to be stopped, and they did nothing. They looked the other way. That is very significant. Now, Tom Emmer said, I think that's enough to bring criminal charges and to put the man in cuffs. Now, that is a very significant moment because Congress will take that testimony. It will make a criminal referral. And there is a U.S. attorney out in Minnesota. No glitz, no glamour, but they are rolling up indictments and they mean business. And it is very likely that Tim Walz will not only be hauled before Congress, but this evidence, if referred from Congress to the U.S. Attorney and the Justice Department, could result in Tim Walz becoming a subject or a target of the investigation. That's certainly what Tom Emmer thinks. Meanwhile, we're seeing the flow of money. It wasn't just Minnesota. So last week we talked about this, Steve, $700 million in suitcases flies out of Minnesota, often headed to either Amsterdam or Amsterdam to Dubai. It was a foreign.
Oh, yeah. Walz is in trouble. President Trump, Republicans should be ashamed of the senators that just voted with Democrats in attempting to take away our powers to fight and defend the United States of America. Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, Rand Paul, Josh Hawley, and Todd Young should never be elected to office again. This vote greatly hampers American self-defense and national security, impeding the president's authority as commander-in-chief in any event. And despite their stupidity, the War Powers Act is unconstitutional, totally violating Article 2 of the Constitution, as all presidents and their departments of justice have determined before me. Nevertheless, a more important Senate vote will be taking place next week on this very subject. Pretty amazing to have this exposure continued. The Rhino traders, they count on you forgetting what? This is what these corrupt politicians look like. Only one is up for primary in 2026. Susan Collins, Maine, 2026. She's running for re-election midterm cycle. Lisa Murkowski, 28. Rand Paul, 28. Todd Young in 28. Josh Hawley in 2030. He was just re-elected in 24, so his next regular re-election is 2030. Social media taking over the news cycle. Bookmark and fund MAGA primary challengers only. So remember, George Papadopoulos told us Oversight Committee has the votes to hold both Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress. Well, remember, Stephen Bannon was convicted of contempt of Congress in 2022 for defying a January 6th committee subpoena. Served 4 months in prison, released in 2024. Remember Peter Navarro? I had him on my show. Another former Trump advisor, also convicted, served 4 months in prison. Federal prison, completed in 2024 with appeals ongoing in 2025. Let's hope that it all goes back the other way. More firings at the DOJ.
In Minnesota. What happened in Minnesota? We had 6 prosecutors who suddenly decided they didn't want to support the men and women in ICE. One of them was busy doing a photo shoot with the New York Times while ICE was out there risking their lives. So they came, they said, we want to resign, but we want to use our annual leave up until April, meaning they wanted the taxpayers to pay for them to go on vacation because they decided they didn't want to support law enforcement. So the breaking news tonight, I fired them all. They're fired from the office. And our U.S. attorney there, Rosen, he's great. He was just confirmed 3 months.
Oh, yeah. Keep it going. Here's your list of Republican traitors who voted to sabotage the American First agenda and fund rogue activist federal judges who violated separation of powers. Remember that? Mike Engelman put this together. So if you want to look at them, take a screenshot of that on your, television or screen or whatever. Go ahead and save it and see if one of those pertains to your area, your neck of the woods. I'm looking at all the names now as I'm talking. I'm wondering if any of these actually stick out. Steve Womack. Wow, that's a big name. Tom McClintock. Oh, wow, California. Anybody else? Let's see. Chuck Edwards, North Carolina. Sounds familiar. Carlos Jimenez from Florida. Oh, boy. My goodness. I wonder what happens with all these folks. Why are they, acting like this?
What are the false facts that Citizens United was founded on?
One is the finding that all this unlimited money that was allowed to be poured into elections was going to be spent purely independent from campaigns.
And therefore couldn't be corrupting.
And therefore it wouldn't be corrupting. Basically, it would be ExxonMobil able to take its First Amendment rights and put up an ad saying, oil is great, clean energy sucks, and we don't like Sheldon Whitehouse. But in fact, as Campaign Legal Center and End Citizens United and other groups have shown over and over again, there's enormous coordination between super PACs and candidates. In fact, in most cases, the super PAC is specifically designed not to represent ExxonMobil's views, but to be for a single candidate.
That's right.
It's a one candidate super PAC. So why are they not going to be coordinating with that one candidate's campaign? They just have to do it quietly.
Yeah.
The other piece, and the one that's truly indisputable, is that they were wrong when they said you don't have to worry about corruption because all of the money that's going to be spent will be effectively disclosed. There will be transparency for voters into who's spending the money. Again, that model in their minds was, we're ExxonMobil, we approve this message. But of course, that is not what happened in real life. In real life, there's billions of dollars being spent in dark money. And that completely disproves the transparency predicate that they hung up as a fact. And if you look at the way the decision was organized, these two facts were essential to the analysis of the decision. This has been like the cartoon character who walks off the cliff and keeps walking, keeps walking, keeps walking. This Citizens United decision keeps walking, even though the ground of proper fact that it should have stood on has completely fallen away. It's a serious wrong by the Supreme Court. They shouldn't be doing fact-finding in the first place. For sure, it's wrong to do false fact-finding. And once they know it's false, they ought to be going back to clean up their error. They shouldn't just persist stubbornly in a false fact because it works for the big donors who got them on the court.
Yep. Enormous coordination between super PACs and candidates. This is from Senator Sheldon in White House. Interesting information, right, that not many folks hear about. So let's look over to Ohio, actually cracking down on the rampant Somali child care fraud.
If 124 tips by the public.
And this is Representative Josh Williams, the majority whip, Republican District 44, Sylvania Township.
124 tips by the public uncovered enough fraud that 12 child care centers were closed and 61 were required to repay taxpayers. It raises one unavoidable question. How much fraud is actually happening that is not being reported? That is why Ohio must shift from a reactive enforcement mechanism to a preventative enforcement mechanism using technology, transparency, and immediate consequences so the system cannot be gamed or exploited in the state of Ohio.
It's about time. That goes on for another 7 minutes, but just wanted to show you that somebody's out there doing something. The Department of War has just seized another sanctioned oil tanker coming from Venezuela, the 6-1. Trump doctrine is in full swing, including whole milk is back. This is posted by the White House. We're bringing whole milk and making America healthy again. That's so cool. Well, you know, The View, they're not all into health, are they? Well, they bring somebody named Oprah. It doesn't look like Oprah, sounds like Oprah, acts like Oprah, has a mask on like Oprah, but sure doesn't look like her. But anyway, let's listen to her deranged thoughts.
All these years, I thought I was overeating. I was standing there with all the food noise, what I ate, what I should eat, how many calories was that, how long was it going to take. I thought that was because of me and my fault. Yeah. Now I understand that if you carry the obesity gene, if that is what you have, that is what makes you overeat. You don't overeat and become obese. Right. Obesity causes you to overeat. Right. Obesity causes you to have all of that food noise. And what the GLP-1s have done for me, and I know a number of other people, is to quiet that noise.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's so nice. Thank you for helping us because RFK Jr. is destroying everything that we've ever stood for. Oh, the stupidity of The View. Yeah, I saw this from Real AF Patriot, by the way. Iran is the end game. There's a red folder. You see that in the meeting when President Trump was talking about the milk. There's white milk. There's a green hat. There's a gold tie. That is not a coincidence. Iran flag comms. You see that? Iran flag comms. Remember on the cue board we even had We Stand Together in This Fight. Where we go one, we go all. Was on the cue board 3002, and that's somebody there, Make Iran Great Again, showing their support for the cue board out of Iran. And I wanted to show you something that was posted by Ultra Magadine Erickson, a podcast. A woman calls into the Persian Manoto news program, saying she is the daughter of a senior commander inside Iran. I will try to basically read what she's saying, okay? My father is one of the elements of the repressive force. Can I say that you know Mr. Radan? They said yes, lucky enough to know his infamous name. And we have seen his dirty, let's see, it says his dirty face many times. Yes, I'm very scared and stressed, she said. I can say that he is on the same level as Radan the criminal, my father. I just want to say one thing to the people of Iran, to this repressive, be careful. these commanders of yours pack their bags and suitcases for me, who am his daughter, for my mother, for all of our family members. They made fake passports with fake names and details that would send us fleeing abroad. My father has hidden suitcases and suitcases of dollars in the house. He keeps calling me to come. The Hague Court. I am a living person. I have witnessed the crimes that my own father has committed. Fatima Jean. Now he is ordering us to kill. Where should I go? I have photos. I have videos. I have documents. We are not one of them. I went to the Massa movement. They have arrested me for a few of my friends, but they recognized me. My father came and released me, had beaten me with the baton. In the same house your father beat me with a baton because I was soft. But my friends, our friends, didn't let them go. They were raped. Should we tell this pain? A shameless father, but I hate him. We do not want this. We are this family. But they are killing their own children, suppressing them, giving them batons, electric batons, guns to go and kill fellow citizens. You know, if anything happens, you know these will be the first ones who run away. Where are you going to answer? What are you going to answer with? Don't do it. Don't kill fellow citizens. I am putting my phone on the line. Ask for any information. Ask for any court. Ask for any republic. I'll tell you who these people are, what dirty deeds they did. They started at home, raping their children. Do you understand? Do you know what pain we ourselves have seen from these hard-hearted fathers? They forced us to wear veils, pray at night. Forgive me, I converted to Islam early. I am still veiled because of my father's and mother's coercion. We fought and suffered ourselves. If I could, I would be the first person to kill him. I committed suicide twice, but it was hopeless. It saved me because of my mother. I couldn't bear this shame and endure it. These are like Shamkhani. These are they're not treating their children. Let me read that. Go back here. They're not treating their children and family like Shamkhani. This oppressive force, put your baton aside today and go to the people. I am their child. Heartbreaking what's going on in Iran. Heartbreaking. We need to pray for them. Pray for all that's going on. You know, there's others that are being discovered in our own country.
591, where's the location of your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. There's a child pedophile with 2 kids in his truck. One's a runaway.
Where are you at, sir?
He's coming down US 1. His name's Darnell.
A caller who knew Harrison and knew he is a registered sex offender just happened to see him on the road. He dialed 911 after spotting him with what looked like 2 underage boys in the car.
Do you know this person?
He's our neighborhood child pedophile, and there's 2 missing kids that run away from out there, and he's got 2 teenage boys in the back of his truck.
The caller followed the truck down US 1.
You don't have to continue following.
Oh, no, I'm following until I see a cop pull his over because he's got 2 kids in his car. Because if a cop don't pull him over, I'm going to pull him over, and it ain't going to be pretty.
Deputies ultimately found the truck, and after a bit of a struggle, had Harrison in handcuffs.
Who got my truck? Who got my truck?
All right, I appreciate it. Law enforcement stopped the vehicle.
Yeah, they got him. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So whether it's all of Iran and what they're doing to their children, our own country, stealing children, getting caught, and more. It's all about our kids. This whole thing, what they're doing to our young ones. Bill passes Senate vote that bans the use of government funds for abortions in an 81-15 vote. Huge win for pro-life. It includes provisions that prohibit the use of appropriated funds for abortions under Department of Justice title, except in cases where the life of the mother would be endangered if the fetus were carried to term or in cases of rape or incest. That was passed.
The woman we see in here, was that the 911 caller?
Yes.
It was the middle of a September night. Police called to this storage facility for a baby heard crying inside one of the locked units. The jury seeing this footage Tuesday alongside defendant Charles Duprice, the man on trial accused of neglecting his children after police were able to bust into the unit.
Milwaukee police were coming in. Hi. What's going on here?
Inside, police finding Duprice 6 children alone, the oldest 9, the youngest a newborn. No running water, no electricity. Prosecutors say the only light came through the door's cracks.
How did it smell?
Like it was being used as a bathroom.
And that's because it was. The state saying the children used this bucket to go to the bathroom. Duprice and mom Asia Zielinski asleep.
You could step out, yeah.
In a nearby car with the family dog.
I wanted to show you what's been happening across our nation also. These kids. Our future. Many of them, what do they turn to? They turn to drugs when they come from terrible past or they have terrible friends in school that influence them and more. Fentanyl deaths are dropping like a rock. Thank you, President of the United States. Was up in the 6,000s from 2021 all the way to 24. And President Trump steps in, it's down to 2,700 deaths of fentanyl. All these big moves in health are helping us.
So this is the second principle in the president's healthcare plan, lowering insurance premiums specifically and ensuring that that money is going directly back to the American people and cutting the kickbacks that then raise those premiums. So this plan, once put into legislative text and passed by Congress and sent to the president's desk, will stop sending big insurance companies billions of an extra taxpayer-funded subsidy payments and instead send that money directly to eligible Americans to allow them to buy the health insurance of their choice through, you may have heard it be referred to as health savings accounts. Whether that ends up being the actual name of such accounts, we'll have to see. Again, Congress and the White House are going to work together to put this plan into action. And then secondly, the Great Healthcare Plan will fund a cost-sharing reduction program for healthcare plans, which will save taxpayers at least $36 billion and reduce the most common Obamacare plan premiums by over 10%. And that's according to the Congressional Budget Office.
Isn't that amazing? Ending billions in taxpayer subsidies to big insurance companies, giving that money to the Americans. Remember we were talking about Greenland? Newsweek said Germany, other NATO allies are sending troops to Greenland amid Trump threats. Well, you'd think that they're going to ship in thousands, right? Well, Europe finally means business. Germany sent 13 guys for a 3-day recon trip. Norway sends 2 officers. Sweden, 3 soldiers. France has a vague promise, maybe eventually. It's not a military buildup. That's a Euro road trip with the lads. Oh, I needed that laugh going into the week. And I also needed this. Under President Trump, fewer Americans are claiming unemployment. 198,000. These numbers are very close to getting back into the Beatles era in terms of how low they are. President Trump is getting America working again. President Trump showed this too. That's very unfair to our tech companies. For the United States of America, EU makes more from fines on U.S. tech than tax from all of public European tech. In 2024, EU fined U.S. tech companies 3.8 billion euro. Meanwhile, public internet tech companies paid only 3.2 billion euro in income tax. Just want to make sure that we see that. Also, U.S. completes the first sale of Venezuelan oil worth $500 million, official says. Now, Democrats are openly defending the Federal Reserve and demanding that they stay independent. You guys want to hear from Maxine Waters?
I appreciate so very much, Mr. Vargas. And
I don't. She says we should not be talking about anything but the independence of the Fed, our central bank. This committee, with its clear authority over the Fed, must take a bigger role in defending the Fed's independence. Democrats are now literally demanding we don't end the Fed and instead keep paying them interest to borrow money that they type into existence on a computer screen. Wall Street Ape said, I'm speechless. Democrats are the worst enemy of the American people ever. Doesn't matter. All that's going on. If you guys got into silver, boy, are you happy. It went up to $93. And you know what? It's already up to over 100 in China. So you know where everything's going, right? It's going up even higher. And we're going to have an interview out late tomorrow with Dr. Kirk Elliott. Man, he's been through a lot, folks. Pray for him. He's got some serious things that happened to him. Click on that link, folks, and you will be taken care of on the silver for sure. I mean, a lot of great things happening despite all of the fighting, the chaos, and more. We've got a lot to pray for, and we have been told again that they're operational. That's something. Insurrection Act was mentioned by President Trump again in text for the world to see. And he just happened to post at that time that we all love to see on the keyboard. Operational. I think that's pretty cool.
For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you once again, thanking you for your continued guidance and direction in our life. Thank you for an amazing week, exposing so much that's going on behind the scenes. We are all calling out to you and hoping that these federal agents that are out there trying to help us in our country, they'd be taken care of, their families would be watched over, and more by you. Thank you for the leadership that's fighting against this enemy, the firings that are happening, the exposure of these evil folks like the Clintons and more. We are waiting and standing by, obviously needing your timing to be just right. And we are told to trust the plan and understand it's all going on. We also want you to know that we trust you. And we lift our voices up to you to guide and direct these leaders in the direction you want them to go. In your timing. We ask for continued protection over those that are on decision-making staff, on the front lines in this cold weather and more, day in and day out, under attack from these terrible, terrible, evil, demon-possessed people. Please protect them, Lord. We ask for continued guidance in our own lives with our family and our friends, how we deal with each other. We certainly need your help in that area also. We bring this all before you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Savior. Amen and amen. Folks, we hope you have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much if you stayed all the way to the end. We know this was a little bit longer than usual. And also, just remember, we've got the cruise for you available. We look forward to many of you jumping on board. We're going to have a blast with so many joining us. Let's see if I can remember some of the names. We've got so many now that are going to be with us. Observing Consciousness, Justice Cometh, Tracy Justice, let's see, Julie Donuts. We've got Steve, we got the Real AF Patriot is going to be joining us. Ultra Magadine Erickson. Let's see, did I leave anybody out? Can I remember anybody else that's going to be there with us? Anyway, we've got all kinds of folks showing up, and many that we actually have that that we talk about, like Hunter's Blend Coffee, and others are going to be there. So pretty cool. Looking forward to that. Pretty exciting times. It'll be here before you know it. For now, this LT Semper Fi with them we know. Signing out.
Give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies.
So when I listened to Joe talking about a transition, there's been no transition from when I won. I won that election. And if you look at crooked Hillary Clinton, if you look at all of the different people, there was no transition because they came after me trying to do a coup. They came after me spying on my campaign. They started from the day I won and even before I won.
a biased reporter with a left-wing opinion.
What do you want me to do?
Yeah, because you're a left-wing hack. You're not a reporter. You're posing in this room as a journalist, and it's so clear by the premise of your question.